Welcome everyone to the second episode of Soulful Conversation. We had a lot of fun last time discussing, and we realized there is so much more to all of us beyond coaching and beyond all that we portray in our professional lives. So, through these conversations, we are not only deliberating on ghazals and songs and art, but getting to know each other more, and that's the fun part, right? So today, without much ado, we're gonna discuss one ghazal from ghazal song, whatever you say, from movie Masoom, and I'm sure most of you would have heard this. So let me play that, and then we'll get into discussing and talking about its context. And it seems this movie also has given us a lot of legendary songs that we all still cherish. And how do we connect that to life, and how do you make sense of it and connect it to what our lives, right? It's not only about the song. How do you connect that to our clients and ourselves and our lives and our emotions and our thinking and our brain and everything? So let's see what magic comes up. I'm just going to play this for all of you here. Oh, I'll have to bring it 1 second.
तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी हैरान हूँ मैं ओ हैरान हूँ मैं तेरे मासूम सवालों से परेशान हूँ मैं ओ परेशान हूँ मैं तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी हैरान हूँ मैं ओ हैरान हूँ मैं तेरे मासूम सवालों से परेशान हूँ मैं ओ परेशान हूँ मैं जीने के लिए सोचा ही नहीं दर्द संभालने होंगे जीने के लिए सोचा ही नहीं दर्द संभालने होंगे मुस्कुराए तो मुस्कुराने के कर्ज उतारने होंगे ओ मुस्कुराओ कभी तो लगता है जैसे होठों पे कर्ज रखा है ओ तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी हैरान हूँ मैं ओ हैरान हूँ मैं
This was the first paragraph of the music. And I think we were just discussing about what was the context of this movie. What is what is this song trying to communicate? So let's bring it on to see, what is there in this song so far.
Being very unprepared for life.
Being unprepared for life. Okay. It's a very contradictory statement, right? Tujhse naraz nahi hai zindagi, हैरान हूँ. I'm surprised that life is not annoyed from you. And
but life is full of surprises.
Yeah. But what was the context of this song when the song came into the movie saying, I'm surprised that life is not annoyed from you? What does it mean?
So the context of the movie, as we were discussing before we started recording, was the person, the guy is put in a situation where he realizes that from a relationship which he had, he's got a child, which is Naziruddin Shah, basically. Jugal Hansraj plays the boy. And this song is played multiple times, I think 2 times really. Basically, when he's trying to question, as if, why did it happen to me? Why am I put in this kind of a quandary? And he's got an excellent relationship with Shabana Azmi, who's his wife, a family, and then all of a sudden things get complicated with Jugal Hansraj coming. And that also happens because the person with whom he's had this relationship, Supriya Pathak, plays that role, actually dies in an accident. And he's compelled to accept and adopt, let's say, this kid. So that's the context from what I remember. It's been ages since one saw this movie. So, yeah. So for me, I think the first thing which strikes me with the poetry and even this song is that, the thought process of the poet, which is Gulzar in this case, how, so he's actually, this is a conversation between a man and life. So life's being personified here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is a quality which always amazes me with poets, how they can put life to almost anything, So that is one piece, and let me just leave the ground to the other people to contribute. But this is something which struck me about the song.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost very, it's so nicely articulated that if I need to live, जीने के लिए दर्द संभालने होंगे. If I need to live, I have to go through the challenges of life, and I have to respond to difficult questions of life. And I had to, it's part of the parcel, is almost saying like that. And how in, few words, poet has been able to say that is just amazing. How the whole summary of life has been kind of said in like just few words. And that's very amazing.
Is he also, in addition to asking life, is he also asking the boy that I'm concerned with your questions, or maybe not?
It is a bit kind of, when the scenes are short, when the movie is short, it has that kind of context. But I think it's not the overt context, let's put it this way. That's my memory of the movie, at least.
Okay.
So to me, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dinesh.
So to me, one stanza really strikes out as, and we'll just read it out, is मुस्कुराए तो मुस्कुराने के कर्ज उतारने होंगे, मुस्कुराओ कभी तो ऐसा लगता है कि the essence is, sometimes life is very harsh. Even if you smile and you bring in the essence of happiness, there's a balance. When there's happiness, there is also silence, there is sadness and things like that. And we know what we're going through in the last couple of years, right? And today that makes it so pertinent. And laughter comes with pain, pain comes with laughter. It's all about the balance.
Yeah.
And in a sense, if we look back to the movie itself, right? I was probably 15, 16 when this movie came out. And today, at that point in time, you loved it because of the songs, the child songs, etc. in that movie. But today, when you look at it, I think it's more key. Bring out the child in you, right? Become that masoom again. So what? Right? We run away from being innocent because of what's going on. So these are things. Subtly, if you really compare what was it then when the movie came, and today when you look at it, the context is really
It's interesting that they bring the balance sheet here and say, if you laugh, you have to, pay the debt for that. Interestingly, it says, when you laugh, there's almost like a debt is kept on your lips, and you have to pay for it if you laugh. That's, again, the combination of words and the way it has been said is, again, amazing me as and when we are listening to this more and more.
So
that's Gulzar Saab for us.
Yeah.
A very crazy question. Hoto mein khars means loan on lips. How does that fit?
Yeah. So that's the poet's play with words, saying that as you are laughing, there is somewhere lurking this, you have to repay for, let's say, that laughter. And as Dinesh was saying, and as Jaya was saying, that life is a balance. So maybe, you're laughing at this moment, but probably that's not going to last.
Okay. So Google Translate did work for me.
Because the words are really brilliant with metaphors.
Yeah. It's almost like there is an equal share of happiness and sadness in our lives. And right now, if you're laughing, then remember that you'll have to pay for that. Doesn't mean you don't laugh, but then it just means that there is an equalization happening at some point in time.
Yeah. So when you were just sharing Hoton Pe Karz Rakha Hai, while we were growing up, our aunts and our grandmoms and all, as children, when we used to laugh a lot, they always used to say, "Don't laugh so much; you're gonna cry later."
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's all conditioned also.
And interestingly, that also comes out in our coaching conversations when people are just so much trying to avoid the pain that they forget laughing. But that's not the point. That's really not the point. That, because we have been conditioned ki zyada has mat, rona padega, right?
Yeah.
And that's crazy. That's crazy in a way that while it is a reality, but it also became a limitation for us to conduct our lives.
Is that because I think in our culture, when we were growing up, we were asked to be very steady, like up. When it is up, don't laugh much, don't be so happy. And even when we are low, they want us to be kind of like more steady, like a rock. So kind of that steadiness of thought process.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to inculcate in us from childhood. And they say if you are like too happy, then you have to become too sad at times. And it's a balance, as we're saying. And it's interesting that we are connecting it to our conditioning, our childhood, and how we have been taught to not be at any extremes and be steady. Interesting.
I have had more conditioned to the girl child.
Don't ask.
A lot of conditioning to the girl child.
So many. Yes.
So if you see I keep telling my daughter this, we are the sandwich generation, right? Our parents said, don't laugh, itna has raha hai, kal roega. Today my daughter says, Dad, enjoy, right? just stay what it is, and just be happy with what you have. Don't get agitated. So look at it. Parents taught us, kids are teaching us. It's a beautiful paradox, and no regret for both. Absolutely.
So one other thing which strikes me is, the opening line which says "Naraz nahi, hairan hu main."
Yeah.
So it's a bit about also, the way we sometimes interact with people, conversations, and it's also a bit of a lesson that sometimes rather than being angry or agitated about a situation, can you be in a mode of curiosity and surprise and exploration? And I think, that's again, in coaching also, we kind of a little bit, that the curiosity and the exploration piece. So that's again something which kind of strikes me in particular.
Yeah.
Learn from that situation what it's teaching you.
Yes.
The essence
exactly.
is that.
Yeah. I see the sense of wonder, right?
Yeah.
Stay in the sense of wonder versus getting annoyed from life or anything else. Just stay curious, keep thinking about it versus being annoyed. And that goes for our relationships also, right? When we create a judgment and then we, create a distance, but we never stay in a sense of judgment, sense of wonder. To say, hey, maybe there's something beyond to that, what I'm able to see. So interesting. Okay, should we play it again? The next one? All right. Juggling screens.
जिंदगी तेरे गम ने हमें रिश्ते नए समझाए, जिंदगी तेरे गम ने हमें रिश्ते नए समझाए, मिले जो हमें धूप में मिले छाँव के ठंडे साए। तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी, हैरान हूँ मैं, ओ हैरान हूँ मैं। आज अगर भर आई है बूंदे बरस जाएगी, आज अगर भर आई है बूंदे बरस जाएगी, कल क्या पता इनके लिए आंखें तरस जाएगी। ओ जाने कब गुम हुआ कहाँ खोया, एक आंसू छुपा के रखा था। ओ तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी, हैरान हूँ मैं, ओ हैरान हूँ मैं।
Great. So what is this paragraph saying in itself? Zindagi tere gam ne hame rishte naye samjhaye.
It's such an interesting perspective in today's context, right? In terms of how COVID has brought so many relationships to the forefront and how we've learned a lot from someone we didn't know. I mean, look at whether it was those healthcare workers, whether it's the doctors or anyone, right? So, Zindagi ke gam ne hame rishte naye samjhaye. Can really relate to it.
Yeah, I think it's almost like when crisis hits, that's when you get to know the real
Exactly.
meaning of relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, in another context, when you hit a crisis, you also kind of find yourself the relationship with a new relationship with yourself, finding yourself, your inner, kind of strength, who you really are. So
I'm thinking when something like this hits us hard, we are mostly logical people with a lot of IQ. And if we keep on thinking like that, there's no answer. Why did this happen? Why is so many people impacted? I think when we exhaust our answers to the IQ part of our brain, we tend to spill over to the emotional side. And then everything is perspective, life. And it's kind of interesting.
True. And I was, my attention was taken by this line which says, "Aankhein bhar," let me just see. Which says, like if your eyes are filled with tears today, let it come out, and there may be a day when you will actually ask for it and you won't have it. The eyes will be by that time. That's interesting. I'm thinking more deeper about what does it really mean? What is it trying to communicate?
Be emotional. There's nothing wrong to be emotional. I mean, today's world, when we speak about, I mean, okay, there are perceptions from around us. You're too emotional, right? So be it. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to say something, just say it from your heart. Right? Don't run away from it. Because tomorrow, when the opportunity comes, you won't be able to speak. So I think it's very reflecting to me.
Being
Yeah, I
alone.
think the fact, you're probably just building on what Dinesh is saying. I think maybe the thought process is that if you're feeling emotional about something, it's better to kind of, show those emotions, because there may be a time when either you will become so strong-hearted that those emotions will just not emerge, or the distance between you and the other person for whom these emotions are there becomes so much that you just cannot be in that emotional state because you've come such a long distance. So, yeah.
Very true.
So that makes me think, why would we hold on to not expressing ourselves in the
Yeah.
moment?
Hmm.
So many blockages,
Mm.
so many apprehensions,
Mm.
so many things.
And I think we also kind of try to look strong, right? When there is a time to be vulnerable, we want to put a facade and say, hey, I can deal with it. But the idea is that you just, empty the cup, keep moving on, empty the cup. You don't have to look strong for the sake of it. If you're feeling vulnerable, be vulnerable and empty yourself before you move forward, because tomorrow you may not, even if you want to cry, you won't get tears.
Maybe somewhere hidden is also a leadership lesson. As we say, sometimes we as leaders, we kind of try and show our strong face as if we know everything and as if what we say is the only thing to say and the only way to do things. And without showing our vulnerability, without realizing that we may not have all the answers. And so maybe,
I think the new generation is expecting the leader to be more, connected,
exactly.
with their feelings, as opposed to being Mr. or Miss Know-it-all or Miss Know-it-all to say, do it that way. They don't want people to lead them that way. They want someone who's removing impediments, just giving them that support to learn, grow. And so I'm also thinking at work, people tend to think that showing emotion at work is a sign of weakness. So that is something coming up for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And drop your guard. I mean, that's what even, for example, psychological safety. Right? Drop your guard, leadership. I mean, saying, alluding to what Sandeep mentioned. And yes, leaders, there's nothing wrong for a leader to show his emotions. If you have to speak out, that's when the team will build the trust. So it's a beautiful lesson, Sandeep, from a leadership side.
Yeah, and I think what is catching my attention is this two lines. मिले जो हमें धूप में मिले छाँव के ठंडे साए. And this is a very deep line about
very, very deep.
Very deep line about that, like you said, Dinesh, that trust is built when you show vulnerability.
Can someone translate that for me? I'm struggling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think the literary translation is that you find your friends in adversity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So dhoop mein mile, which is supposed to be adversity.
Yeah.
Thande.
Cold. Relationships which were. I got a lot of shade in sun. Is what it's trying to say.
Thank you.
Interesting. I'm very surprised. This would be like how old? This
1983.
83.
Wow.
Almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And someone said so profoundly, which is still so relevant. And that's the magic of poetry. That's the magic of, what Rumi has written and what Khalil Gibran has written several hundred years back is still relevant today, which means that the essence of life is same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much progress you make, how much technology you know, but the real essence of life remains the same for human beings. And how by just understanding that, we make life so simple. Very interesting. So it seems that today's ghazal was very much focused on relationships and relationships in crisis and being vulnerable, and how do you, find peace with yourself by emptying your cup as you go along.
Yeah.
Great.
Very
This was a wonderful conversation. Any last few comments before we go?
I'll still stick to what I started with. Bring out the child in you.
Bring
Masumiyat. It's okay.
Heran.
Surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be surprised, stay curious.
Stay curious. Stay in wonder.
Yeah,
Interesting.
stay curious, the balance in life, as the bad follows after the good and the good follows after the bad. So it's a cycle, and kind of you need to have a certain poise to go through that, the ups and downs. And when I say poise, not outwardly, but emotionally,
The grace,
the
basically.
grace, right?
The grace.
To accept.
Accept. Yeah, and I think in totality, the poet is trying to say that there will be sad times. So you can't stop laughing because there is to avoid sad times. This is both part of the equation. It's two sides of the coin. So it has to happen.
Yeah.
So might as well live
And
today.
be in the present. Laugh.
Be in the present.
Be,
Laugh.
laugh.
Be
laugh.
like a
This is your
child.
moment for laugh. Laugh. Yeah. Something else will come your way. Let it be. Go with the flow.
Deal with the life gracefully.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we will come back with a next ghazal and maybe a new form of art next time. Thank you all for watching this, and thank you for accepting this idea of deliberating on art and music, and wish we continue this conversation again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
As
you.
always,
Thank you.
great fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.